Hey, welcome everyone to the October Stevens Venture Center Speaker Series. Before I introduce our presenter today, I'd like to note that this is Women's Entrepreneurship Week, which is celebrated in 12 countries around the world and in several states, including New Jersey. It's particularly fitting that our first ever female speaker at the SVC Speaker Series Bureau is presenting as part of our celebration of Women's Entrepreneurship Week. Welcome, Caroline. Caroline Hoedemaker has over 25 years of experience in the life science industry, working with companies in the device, pharmaceutical, and diagnostic arenas, always focused on financial strategies and the introduction of novel technologies. She excels at putting teams together to define products, strategies, and execution of financially viable plans. She works from the perspective of business growth for the investor, from product development through to commercialization. Prior to establishing her consulting practice in 2002, Caroline worked for a number of cutting-edge companies in laparoscopic surgery, point-of-care diagnostics, and matrix-based soft tissue replacement composites, as well as working with J&J Ethicon in a business development M&A role. While at J&J, she ran deal teams that strategized focus areas, identified, managed, and conducted due diligence on companies targeted for license or acquisition. She founded Valued Solutions, a consulting firm that she's worked with both large and small companies, including J&J, Daiichi Sankyo, Stryker, and startup companies such as Tyrex, a $160 million acquisition by Medtronic, Prometheus Diagnostics, recommending a partnership and in-license opportunities. The two executed were both double-digit million-dollar deals, and helped several university-based initiatives apply for and win grants. In 2013, she founded and began the TTAP Accelerator program. I'll let Caroline tell you about TTAP as she opens her presentation. Please join me in welcoming Caroline to Stevens. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you, Adrienne, for this opportunity to come and speak to Stevens. Just a little bit quick about the TTAP. The TTAP is an accelerator that was really founded in 2014 and 15 with a workshop phenomena around building teams around these companies, bringing together multiple skill sets, recognizing that it's a team sport that we all participate in as we're trying to grow businesses. And with that, what I'd really like to talk to you today about is accelerators and incubators as a whole and what they might mean for you and where they might help you. So today's format, we're going to talk through a number of pieces. We're going to talk through formats and structure of accelerators and incubators. We'll talk about how to evaluate them and whether they're a fit for you and where they can help your growth, when to apply, when to expect. Do a little bit of case studies if we have the time, and then also talk a little bit about what would make them successful if you were to participate in one, and how to participate in them such that you are successful as well. But first, I want to get a little bit about the audience, because I always find it's helpful to understand who's in the audience, to understand what I should feature and what I should highlight. So by way of hands, if we could just touch on how many of you are software-driven innovation? How many of you have as much hardware involved as software? Any innovation in the telecom area? Food? Consumer? The life science space? Anybody in the audience that doesn't really care? They're just interested in how accelerators work? What about type of involvement? How many of you are founders? Maybe you're not a founder, but you're an active participant. Somebody sucked you in to help work. As an advisor or as a mentor? Or have another role? This is great. We've got a nice group of people who are actively involved, mostly in the IT space, but some in life sciences as well. There are two other criteria that really define how you are involved, and that's time and money. So when I talk about time, how many of you are spending more than 20 hours a week on your activity? Wow, I'm very impressed. It's a lot of commitment. How many are actively moving it forward, but when you really think about how much time, it's not as much as you'd like it to be? How many have an idea, but they're not just not moving it forwards yet? Considering it. Interested and curious on how to make these things work? I'm not involved yet, or any other roles. How about money? How many actually have some funding behind what they're doing that's not your own, that might be from grants or universities? Any funded companies here? How many have put some money into this as well, whether it's friends and family or their own? You guys are getting into the scary space. How many investors involved? They've actually said, okay, I'll take a piece of your company and I'll put some cash into this. Terrific. So going back, we're going to begin with talking about the format and structure. So starting first with accelerators. So what is an accelerator? It's not a particle accelerator. We're not going to shoot atoms at gold. We're talking about entities, and there are, just so you know, there are a bunch of definitions about what an accelerator is, and they've been defined and changed over time. But really, they all have a singular mission. They want to have businesses grow. Some of them have different purposes or different objectives of why they want these businesses to grow, but they all want businesses to grow. Typically, they operate in a similar fashion. They call for participation. Sometimes they'll call 1 month in advance. Sometimes they'll call 6 months in advance, and they'll have a screening process. They'll start with having you complete an application, maybe fill out a survey, provide some background information on your technology. Some of them will then call in finalists for additional screening, sometimes in front of mentorships, and then they'll create a cohort. A cohort is typically a group of 5 to 10 companies, but it can be up to 100 companies. It can be as small as 1. There are some accelerators that accept people on a rolling basis, so how do you define the cohort? It's a little different. Typically, they operate with a 3 and a 6 month time horizon where they're really trying to grow your business or grow your idea to the next level where it has some measurable growth from the outside perspective, from the financial perspective. They frequently have programs, but they don't all have programs. There's different levels of involvement, some that are hands-on and some that are very relaxed. But typically they'll have you check in at least once a week, whether it's in a formal process where there's a training session or just an informal process where they want to make sure that you're maintaining progress because they have invested in you either by time or services or money to move your business forwards, and they expect attention, and it's part of the diligence and checking process. They have mentors. These mentors can be involved very loosely, or they can be part of the driven team, contractually relationships with the accelerator as it is. And typically they provide a pitch session at the end. What's a pitch session? A pitch session is an opportunity where you can get to go and stand in front of people much like this, where you get to tell other people about what you're doing in a short, concise fashion, usually between 3 and 10 minutes, with the idea that they're going to value you. And by generating value, they want to invest money in you. So you want to pitch in front of a group of investors or influential people, sometimes customers, but people who want to then purchase or invest money in what you're doing so that you can do it more, faster, better, easier, quicker. So why are these outside entities interested? Startups are interested predominantly because they want to grow their business and they want to do it in a time-effective fashion. Time is money, and how do you get to the end quicker? And when you're from an investor perspective, they want to see better opportunities. They don't want to just see the science. They want to see science that's applied and is going to be able to provide them with returns in a business sense. It's interesting, looking at a Brookings article, companies that go through an accelerator process raise 8 times the investment money that a non-accelerated company does. And I think that's pretty impressive. There are a lot of accelerators, and they started back in 2005. Y Combinator, and I'll talk about them a little bit more in depth later, was the first accelerator in the US, followed by Techstars, and then it grew, initially slowly, 18 in 2008, and now up to listed in on AngelList, over 1,000 accelerators are listed. Whether they're not all active or not, whether they're all truly accelerators or not, is could be qualified. I would guesstimate there's about 700 active accelerators in the United States. Geographically, 40% of them are located in all of the high entrepreneurship areas that you would expect. San Francisco in California, Boston, New York, New Jersey, I was pleased to see is up there as well. But there's some other pockets that are also interesting. Colorado, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Milwaukee. I know Texas pops in there frequently as well. 95%, as I think you guys aren't surprised by the people in the audience today, or more, are all focused on IT. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. The accelerator initial design is 3 to 6 months in a cohort, pretty much planned and designed to be a 24/7 operation where you go in, you get accepted, you get mentored, you get some training, you get the opportunity to go head down and drive forwards on what it is you're thinking about in the software space. So 3 to 6 months fits in a tenure pack, as a sabbatical. It fits as the summer. It fits as taking a semester off. All of those, really short type. But you also can do stuff in the IT space in that time period that makes real traction if you have the opportunity to do this. If you've got a team of 4 software programmers really head down going for an idea with a targeted direction, you're going to make some progress. And you'll probably, at least at the end of 3 or 4 months, have a prototype, be able to have talked to some customers, get some really good feedback. So the fact that 95% of them are software oriented really makes a lot of sense. But there are accelerators growing in other spaces. The food industry is one that we've seen tremendous growth in. Consumer products, things that aren't regulated. And also where there's a big social need, and particularly in the water and in the environmental areas, as well as lots of opportunity in medical. I'm, of course, attuned to the medical space. So there were 4 in 2013 and 10 in 2017. Just a little bit more on the medical accelerators because it is my space. There are a number of really good health IT accelerators for those who are interested in that. There are a number of them that are here in this region. DreamIt has done a phenomenal job of connecting people. Blueprint Health as well are 2 really good ones. Tiger Labs down in Princeton as well. But there were few in the life science space that are truly what I call science-driven, not IT-driven, but there are more being developed more recently. So why do accelerators exist, right? What's the purpose and what's the drive and what's the demonstration that they really work? The small business development associations actually recognized that accelerators were having value, and they're looking for how do we drive regional growth? How do we drive activity? How do we drive business creation? How do we create more jobs? And this was actually recognized by the federal government, and they put behind this $2.5 million in 2014, $4.5 million in 2015, and unfortunately I don't have the numbers for 16 as well. But really to drive the accelerator growth, the idea that there are interesting novel science and tech things that need to be moving forwards, but need to have a little bit of culture, need to have a little bit of nurturing moving them forwards. In a survey in 2015, 172 accelerators participated, and there were over 5,000 companies. It's interesting. Recently, in a more recent GUST report, there were 11,000 startups with $207 million invested in those startups, not their valuation, but what was invested in them in 2016, with 178 exits out of 77 accelerators. So I think that they truly have demonstrated that they are growing businesses. Okay, so I've talked about accelerators. What's an incubator and what's the difference? And why do I care? Accelerators are typically oriented about growing businesses. Incubators are about growing communities and space. So historically, incubators have been around longer than accelerators. They have been around since the 1980s, predominantly as components and growth outputs from universities. How do we help our cohorts, our students, our grad students, our professors have opportunity to take their ideas and transition them into a commercial space? And how do we do that in a nurturing environment? In our facilities, how do we use our space more effectively? Predominantly, these characteristics still remain. Typically, the incubators are nonprofits tied to facilities or facility-based resources. They also have a little bit longer tenure. So your accelerator, your typical accelerator is looking for you to come in, get some work done, and get out. Where your incubator is looking for a longer time period relationship. A lot of times there are discounted leases based on continued progress and business participation, but they might be 1 to 5 years. These structures are good for government organizations as well. The CCIT in New Brunswick is an example locally, as well as research institutions, Mount Sinai, that are local in the space that will actually provide you with a space to work. But they have different requirements. They may require you to be committed to the university. You might have to be a student to participate in a certain incubator. You may have to show progress. You may get a discounted rent for a period of time, but then your rent goes up to the full-scaled rent, and they want you to move out and move into a more traditional location. Frequently they provide, but informally, some of the same pieces that accelerators provide. Community. Sometimes they provide programming, and more frequently nowadays they're bringing in EIRs or entrepreneurs and residents to really help with some of the mentorship. The thing to keep in mind, both with accelerators but more with the incubators, is why are they doing this? And what's the value to them? What's in it to motivate for them? And I bring that up because you all are shopping for accelerators or incubators or considering it. That's probably what brought you here, or I assume that's what brought you here. So you need to think about what motivates them to move forwards. So if you're a university, why would you have an incubator? Well, because you want to help your students. You want them to be commercially successful. You want them to be successful and have jobs after they graduate. You want to take your research that was done here and be able to bring it to the outside world because it's very good for the environment. If you're a government agency, what do you care about? You care about that people are employed. And you want to make sure that you have the best employment rating around. If you're a service-based organization, you might want to focus on advancement of the science in the industry that you're involved with. CROs, for example. CROs are research-based organizations that help bring typically the life science businesses forwards. If you're a product company, what do you want? You want early relationships. You want to know what the innovation is before it's out there so that you've got first buyer preference. So you always have to think about what they're doing and why they're doing it. Private organizations, organizations such as like the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, they want to grow cancer-based companies that are treating and improving treatments for cancer. So 2 examples of pharma industry incubators that have different methods of moving forwards, and yet they're similar. So whenever you begin to, you identify an area in which you want to participate, maybe I want to participate with a pharma incubator, look at these, there are all of these things out there, then you need to really read about them and understand about how they operate. So I highlight J-Labs here and Pfizer's incubators because they're really very different. J-Labs is very marketing driven in their recruitment and very real estate focused in how they operate their facilities. Yes, there's lots of interesting perks, but it's not cheap. They also don't take any equity. So there are no strings attached in participating in a J-Labs incubator. Whereas Pfizer has much different philosophy and they have a very hands-on approach. You come in and you participate in our incubator and we're going to take some equity in your company, but we're also going to give you some really good perks. For example, we're going to help you with your preclinical testing because we're going to bulk purchase all the preclinical testing that has to exist. So very different, very similar organizations, very different ways that they run their incubator associations. So in general, what's the difference? Accelerators versus incubators. It really has to do what their core components are, where they operate, and what they excel at doing. So if you're an incubator, your core component is your real estate, your facility, your ability to provide discounted space for your companies that participate. Doesn't mean the other perks aren't there, but they're not an emphasis. If you're an accelerator, your core competency is the fact that you're going to help bring in business advice. You're going to help these companies form businesses and be directed at business goals and objectives. When you look at the business model that supports it, that's how they're run, right? So the incubators are typically more run as real estate organizations, and accelerators are typically run on investor-based models. Both are good, and both have their places, and both sometimes have perks on both sides. So what do you need to evaluate to see if they're going to help your growth? I think it's really important to look at this from two aspects. The first aspect is, what do you need? Where are your weaknesses? And it's really more important to look at where your weaknesses are than where your strengths are. There are only 24 hours in a day. What is it you're going to be best at applying yourself towards, and where do you need to fill in the gaps? Versus evaluating the fit. Does this accelerator provide me with what I need, the context and the location, and does it help fill in my gaps appropriately? So why am I interested in an accelerator again? What brought me here today? I've got a great idea, but maybe I'm not sure how to make it into a business. Maybe I've started making it into a business, but I know as I grow and I scale, I'm going to run into some stumbling blocks because I've never done it before. You know, what I really need is money. I'm not sure how to get my hands on some money, but I need to scale this, and I need to hire 10 more employees, or I need XYZ more equipment. I'm not sure how to get that. And when I go out and I talk to people, they don't call me back. So I'm not really sure why they don't understand what I'm doing isn't great. But maybe those are some of the hurdles that you have. They're some of the ones that I've heard. I need some place to work. I know what I'm doing is good, but I need some place to live and build my company. And I need some equally crazy people who think that this idea is really fantastic and we're going to be very successful. I need a team. So what accelerator is most matched to my company? So again, it's about thinking about what your needs are and what their structure is. And really, there are enough of them nowadays that you can look for a match. Is the accelerator associated with a particular company? Do they have particular needs? Do they have particular objectives of what they're trying to grow? Is the accelerator associated with my university? Is it a comfortable environment? Are they focused on regional job creation or product type creation? And on the same side, from an operational structure, what is it I need? Do I need a facility? Do I need talent? Do I need money? Do they provide those things? What type of accelerator matches my company's needs? So again, it's about evaluating needs and wants. Is the accelerator associated with a particular foundation or a mission or an objective? So if I'm a company that needs a labor force, well, being associated with a regional accelerator or incubator might be a really good thing because that's what they want. They want to grow jobs, and they might be able to help me tap into the right talent pool. Are they associated with a particular industry or job type? Maybe I have a food product and I need a kitchen, and do they have that? Who is it on the accelerators team or incubators team that's going to help me? Do they have, maybe I have talent holes. I've never run a company. I've never had a CFO. I don't know what angel investors are going to want or VCs are going to want. I don't know how to go to an IPO. I don't know how to change my accounting structure from one place to the next. How do I do all that? And how do I learn that? And how do I bring somebody into my team that has done that before? So think about some of those mentors in these accelerators might actually have those skills. They might have actually done those things. That would be a really good value for you. Maybe you want a partnership with a big company at the end of the day. Well, are those companies represented in the mentors? So you really want to look at why, who's there and how they're going to help you and how much you have to be involved. So when I think about sponsors and programming and training, do you have to participate every time there's a training session? Or can you pick and choose the ones that you need? If there's one about, I'm going to use an example from the medical space, if there's one about device regulatory pathway and you're a pharmaceutical, do you have to go? Or do you get to skip that one because it's not appropriate for you? For some of these, you need to go to all of the training. For some of them, you don't. And it's important to think about what matches you too. So you've thought about your business, you've thought about the accelerator and how it fits your business, but now you need to think about you. So SOV has some really great accelerators. I think one of them is the Hong Kong. You go to Hong Kong, you go 24/7. They've got some great connections. They got great facility, but you're in Hong Kong now for 6 months. Is that okay? For some people, that would be just fine. I can leave my life. I can go to Hong Kong. I don't have ties. I'm not going to be upset about that. And if I end up staying in Hong Kong afterwards because now I've got a labor pool I've tapped into and some investors over there, I don't care. But for some other people, they might say, you know what, I'm not doing that. And if I go over there and I get sucked into that environment, I'm not going to be happy. And if you're not happy, you're not going to be productive. So for you, maybe, I want to keep my grad job and I want to work part-time in grad and I want to move my business forwards. Is there an accelerator that I can participate in that? So eLabs, for example, might be a better fit for you. But you have to think about, I think, 3 real things. Location. How much is the time commitment that they want you to participate, and how long does it last? And how much community do you need? Are you going to excel because you're in an open space environment where there's desks for each company and you're really interacting with all of these other companies and you need that? Or is it better if you're in a room by yourself and maybe come out and have coffee with people? Or is it okay if it's virtual because you have special needs and special equipment and maybe the space is better? So you need to think about those things from a personal perspective as well as a business perspective. And then the hard question. If they're good, and you only want to participate with them if they're good, what are you going to give up? What are they worth? There are very few that are going to do this for free. They're going to be the ones supported by the government. They're going to want you to contribute some cash, perhaps, mostly equity, sometimes convertible in the form of convertible debt, which is essentially it's a loan that can convert to equity when it's easier to understand how much your company is worth. How much are you willing to do that? And what's the value you're going to get? Because you need to think that you're actually getting a lot of value for what they're contributing. Sometimes it's cash, expertise, support, training, facility, network, skills, discounts, and access. And typically these are from people who have been there and done it before. And there's a lot of value in been there and done it before. Not that it's complete, but you need to think a little bit as you're going into this. What do I need? What am I going to get? And how am I going to pay for it? Because ultimately you are going to need to give something up. Typically it is in the anywhere from 3 to 10%. I think I just saw a report where on average it's 6.5% equity if it's an equity-based transaction. So, but why should you do this? Why? Okay, you just told me I have to give up a lot of my business, and I don't want to give up any of my business, but I want this advice. But why would I do that? I'm going to bring up sort of 3 quotes from 3 different articles where they really researched the performance of companies coming out of accelerators. In 2014, Halen, Bigham, and Cohen, they found the top programs do in fact accelerate the time for reaching key milestones, such as raising venture capital, exit by acquisition, and gaining customer traction. Those are all things that you want to be able to do. The faster you can get to the money coming in, the better off that you are. But these are for the good programs. They do put the caveat in there that you have to make sure you have the right one. Fender and Hochberg in 2015 published, they find that metropolitan statistical areas where there is an accelerator is established subsequently have more seed and early stage entrepreneurial financing activity. So if you go and you live and you function in spaces where there are accelerators, the investors are going to come looking for you more frequently, not always. But just in general, they realize that these are places where they're really building good companies. Winston Smith and Hannigan in 2015, they found that the accelerator graduates were more likely to receive their next round of financing significantly sooner and were more likely to be either acquired or fail than they were comparable to companies funded instead by top angel investor groups. So this means it doesn't matter if both companies get money in. If you're associated with an accelerator, you're more likely to either be successful in the next round or realize that you get your product to a point where it fails. So Y Combinator, I talked and I brought them out predominantly because they were really the trendsetter. They were the leading accelerator that came out. And just to talk through a little bit of the process that they use, and it's pretty typical of what others use as well as far as applications. So this is just a snapshot off of their website, and you can see, I'll point out a few things. So they're in Mountain View, California. They expect you to live and work there. They have 2 cycles per year. The next one coming up will be January through March of 2018. They have an application date that's a couple months in advance, so October 3rd, you had to have your applications in. They will screen those, and they will select from those a group of companies to come out on October 24th to be screened. If you are then selected, you will then be, they're ready to write you a check to come out for that time period. They take about 100 companies a cohort. So they really churn companies through this process. They initially invested in companies about $1,200 per company, but what they did was they invested very little cash, but they provided you with a working space and a living space. Now, they've gone through multiple changes. Nowadays, what they do is they invest $120K per company, but they expect you to find your living space and your working space. They'll help, but they expect you to find that. So when you think about 3-month short-term lease, Mountain View, California, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for you to come and live there. They want you to come and live there. And during that, and they're very hands-off. During that 3-month cycle, they're going to expect you to come every Tuesday to dinner. And they're going to have a training session. And you're going to have an opportunity to interface with people and ask questions. It is your obligation to reach out to them during this program and ask them for questions and help and leads. They're not spoon feeding you. They will be as helpful as you ask for, but they won't be if you don't. And then at the end, they'll have a demo day. So at the end of this process, they're going to give you an opportunity to pitch in front of investors. They don't care what your company type is. They don't care where you are. They don't care the stage. They care that you're dedicated and that you have an idea and you have a business model and a plan. And they've been very successful. But success is an interesting number, right? So $80 billion in valuation. I talked about that before. That's probably predominantly in about 10 companies. So it's not, you think about that. They have 200 companies come through and they've got about every year, and they've got about 10 really big winners. And then they've got a bunch of other very successful companies as well, but not big like they talk about it. And they've really changed and pivoted how they support these companies over time as well. So Healthcare Wildcatters is all about accelerating healthcare. They are in Texas. They are, and this is where I'm talking about when you go and you look for accelerators you want to apply to, and you want to pick the ones that you're interested in. You want to peel back the onion skin a little bit, just like they're doing on you. Okay, this is really 5 MDs that are running this with a bunch of fringe mentors that they don't really identify. So I'm not sure how deep their program is, but I know they've been pretty successful. And as far as the healthcare accelerators are concerned, they've been around probably, they're one of the longest. Their application, May 31st, they pick the finalists in July. Then they've got a September through November cohort. About 50% of the companies they accept are published as their portfolio companies. So whether that means that only 50% make it through the whole process, or only 50% after they've been accepted actually participate in the accelerator. I'm not sure on that. They invest $30K for 8% versus Y Accelerator that invests $120 for 7%. So different. You just got to look at it. And I'm not certain, because they're much more vague about what they talk about, if that 30K is split up among facility space, they have a very nice facility, or if it is all cash. A totally different one. E-Labs here in New York City. I think that's where New York City is. Launched by the New York City Economic Development Corporation in 2013. It's free. It's really there to promote the growth and experience and extension of their researchers so that they can have different avenues to pursue enterprise moving forwards. It's a 6-month training program, but it's really interesting. If you look at the details, wow, this is 6 months compared to the 3 months before. It's not. It's 1 day a week from 8:30 to 9:30 on Wednesdays. It's a webinar. There's some boot camp days in about once or twice a week in January. And then there are some roundtable dinners about once a month that you're expected to work on this and grow, but it's not a 24/7 operation. You're expected to still be your grad student. You're expected to still be doing your research. Founders Factory. So Founders Factory is in Cincinnati. It's now called something else, and I apologize I didn't put up the new name. But they are a different format and structure as well. Same thing, you go, you apply, you participate. They're looking for seasoned professionals, people who are coming back with ideas rather than having it be your first time out. And they are looking to contribute $20K of in-kind services for 6%. So they're saying what we're bringing in, that's a situation where you really want to look at gaps. Where do they fill in my gaps with in-kind services that I can value, because they're going to push off charging me that. This is my accelerator. We're based in the life science space. We're across the life sciences. We screen about, it's not quite 1,000. I'd say this year we've decreased the number because we're working with the portfolio companies more this year. So we'll maybe screen about 500 companies, looking to participate with about 4 each year. Lots of companies have come through. What's different? We work with highly trained scientists and doctors. Most of them have millions of dollars of funding already in their investment because they've gotten grants. We work with it in a customized length of time, depending on, we still put the same amount of work in each of these companies, but it is scaled for where the company is and what they need. We work with what I call catalysts, who are executive catalysts, executive advisors that we wrap around your company, and they actually participate in the equity component that we take, or the convertible debt. So those are some of the differences that we have. And then I think about just coming back again to the last point of this talk, which is, what do you need to do to pick an accelerator that's appropriate for you? And then what do you need to do to be in that accelerator and really succeed and have it grow your business? Because that's why you're doing this. So you really want to make sure you know your needs and your weaknesses. Not your strengths, your weaknesses. Your strengths you're going to be good at. It's what do you not have? What are you missing that you want to look at? How long has the accelerator been in existence? What type of companies do they work with? How extensive is their network? Because those are pieces that you're going to, of why you're participating and why you're choosing that accelerator to work with. What's the relationship in the network? Is it all casual? If it's casual, you're going to have less commitment. If it's contractual, you'll have more commitment. What benefits do the sponsors provide? Who runs the show? What's the training program? Is it customizable for your needs? Does it fit what you need? Is it going to bring together the pieces you need? And you need to be open about this a little bit, because sometimes you don't know what you need. Sometimes they're out there saying, oh, you need to do this. And you're saying, why? I don't think so. And you just need to be open and listen to people who have actually pushed businesses through in this process. And I think one of the biggest things that you can do in looking at accelerators is look at who has participated, look at who is really running the show, look at the information in depth, not just what they're saying, but what they're showing. What are their success stories? And now from the flip side, okay, now we found a great accelerator. I found 5. I'm going to apply to these. I think they're going to really help me grow. Now, wow, I got accepted and I'm going to participate. What's going to help me make the most of that situation? What do I see as running an accelerator program the companies that really get the most out of it. They don't always agree with me, but they get the most out of it from different places. One, they've selected an appropriate accelerator, and they appreciate that because they've taken the time to look at them and think about it. They actually appreciate what they're getting. Once you go and participate, it's really important to listen. You know, you don't have to be defensive. These people are there to be on your side. They picked you. They believe in your technology. They're not going to benefit from anything unless you're successful. So they're not saying things to you just because. They're saying things to you because they want you to grow. Because if you grow and are successful, they're going to benefit. So you have to believe that. And so be cautious about being defensive and just listen to what they have to say. They're really there to provide you with sound advice. You don't always have to agree with them. You can disagree with them. Matter of fact, people like that, but not if they're not listened to about how it's going to move forwards. Ask questions, ask for opinions, ask for advice. So if you think there are pieces that you would benefit from, ask about them. Suggest connections that might be valuable for you, but don't demand them. There's nothing, you know, if they're not giving it to you when you ask for something, it's because something is missing. And you need to find out what that piece is that's missing, because they'll give you whatever you need. Because remember, their success is tied to your success. If you're not successful, they're not going to be successful. And it's important to just keep that in your mind. It's really easy to get in these situations where it's not always a feel good. And so why? And then you come back and you just forget that they're there to help you grow. Make a plan, map out a plan that they agree with that's going to get you to success. If you can have a planned out activity and time horizon where you think these are the steps that we need to do and people can be sitting in the room nodding your head, they're going to really help you get there because they're going to be bought in as well. And then, of course, it's going to take a lot more time than you think it is. So make your plan, figure out how much time you think it's going to take, and then estimate 2 or 3 times more that time. And the same with money. Even though you may have some initial funding, you'll probably need some more, and some of that may have to come out of your pocket. If you have questions that weren't answered in this talk, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you want any copies of these, please leave me with your information, or if you want any reference information. But let me just throw this open for any Q&A.
You said there was like 5% of the incubators that are not IT based. So how, or for example, for consumer products, like I'd be in, how competitive are the programs to get into that aren't university based, or and also how much influence would they have in the real world? Like, do they have outreach because there's so few of them? Do people know about them?
Take the pharma ones, right? So lots of people know about the pharma ones. So yes, they have influence. Yes, they have connections. I know most about the medical ones. They definitely do. There are a few food incubators that I know about that are supported by the food industry as well. I think the Rutgers Food Accelerator has FMC involved, but I'm not positive on that. So you have to look. But yes, I do think they are definitely contributing. I know I have researched as well the ones that were, and I can provide you a link if you want, the ones that were supported by the SBA grants. There's a good number of those that are not IT based. Food, agriculture, water, and they, at least from what I've read about them, they look like they were very connected as well. I don't know about how competitive they are to get into because I just don't know.
Okay. Are incubators and accelerators mostly focused on getting investors at some point? I mean, is bootstrapping like kind of a incompatible strategy?
So I think all of those things are compatible, in my opinion. Accelerators are about growing businesses such that they're profitable and can have a return on investment. Some incubators don't invest cash. Some accelerators don't invest cash. They just give you help. Some of them do. Some of them will take, as low as 1%. Well, some of them will take, as I think I've seen, up to 15%. But they want to see you grow. I've personally worked with companies that are never going to take investors. So there are at least 3 that have participated in the TTAP where they went right to customers. And they're not going to take investors. Most accelerators are geared at helping you raise money if you need to.
Okay, thank you.
So as an engineer, I think like if I have a startup, I will be more focused on the components or devices. So I believe I will be lacking of financial aspect of the startup. So do you think these incubators are providing these finance related people to us so that they can, I don't know, put us in a correct direction and grow up our business?
I think you're perfect for a lot of these, particularly when they are accelerators that help you build your management team. So in your case, you recognize that what it sounds like, at least, what you want to do is you want to be able to focus on your technology. You think your technology is really great, but you need, the missing other half, which is you need the business partner. So when you go looking for accelerators, you want to make sure that you say, I know I need the business side of this, and I know I need to bring in the business side of this. I don't want to be that person. Can you help me find that person? I just wanted to add, not all of them will do that. Some of them want you to come in and want to be the business person, and they're going to coach and mentor you as if you want to be the business person. And if you realize that, I love what I do, I want to have another person be the business person, you just need to make sure they will help you with that. So this is what it's about. It's getting to the end and having viable, successful businesses. Thank you very much.
That's a great slide. Thank you so much, Caroline. That was very informative, very interesting. Really appreciate you being with us. Okay, that concludes our program for today. Thank you all for coming.